Hey everybody, welcome back to week 37 of the local shift tracker here, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties, 900,000 and below. And we did just record this entire video, but I was dumb and I hit the wrong button. So I apologize, but we're going to go right into it. So this week I have Jimmy Stoffey here, who runs our productivity coaching program here at the Keller Williams Morristown office. So he oversees new agents when they come into this building and they do their first 3 transactions to make sure that they do it the right way. They have good mentorship. Jimmy is that mentor and helps them and coaches them through those first 3 transactions. And how many agents are in coaching right now?
There's about 120.
Okay. So he's been selling for about 7-8 years here in South Jersey, and he's been doing the coaching now for a couple of years here at Morristown, and he oversees. So he has a really good insight as to those 120 agents and what they're experiencing on their deals. So we have a really good way of kind of distilling that information down from a lot of different agents and hopefully presenting it to you today. So I'm going to just break this out of the full screen for a second here and show you what we look at again this week. So our total active listings and our new listings and our pendings all increased from last week. This has been the trend line of our total active listings have been increasing steadily. We've seen that. We also saw that our new listings have come up this week. Again, I like to see that, and we like to see that our pendings are up. However, we did go down a little bit in the closed units, right? And that's okay because our new listings coming on are more than our closed. What's coming off? That's a good way to continue to add more inventory, and that's been the biggest problem, right? Low inventory, it's causing the frenzy. So the more that we can add to that inventory level, the less frenzy it's going to be, the more quote unquote a normal market we'd approach. Now, we did set a record actually this week, which was kind of surprising. Price reductions, and this is going to come back kind of near the end of the video here, but price reductions were at we set a record 37 weeks into the year. We set a record for the amount of price reductions that we had. So that is something we're going to keep an eye on. But here's the biggest one: the median list price. And I'm going to just pull our video up here so you can see the median list price here. Okay, is the highest that it has been all year. We've had a $10,000 jump up from last week, and we've had 5 steady weeks of $339. We just went to $349. So let's just talk about this real quick, Jimmy. So what are the two? You said there were kind of 2 here that really stuck out to you a little bit more. What were the 2 data points that stuck out to you the most here?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that median list price, right? So that is the list price. That's not the sold price. It's the list price. So what we look at is what are those homes actually going to sell for? To me, that just shows that I think we're in this market here where some sellers think that, oh well, my neighbor sold for $370,000. I have the same exact house. I want to put it on the market for $380,000, and we should definitely talk about that, because it's just a poor strategy to list your house more than the competition, especially right now. You really want to price just below market value. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you do that, you're going to see the showings, you're going to see the offers. But what's happening is we're pricing homes. A lot of agents are pricing homes higher than they should. And then that's reflected in those price reductions. So those 2 numbers really stick out to me. And that's why I love that Connor does this, because this is our local market right here. You see the headlines at a national level. It's so easy to skew the data. Yep. And what do you think the headline will be a month from now if there are a lot more price reductions?
It's going to be that the prices are tanking, the market's collapsing, all hell's breaking loose.
But in reality, if you priced it too high from the start and your price decrease just takes you to within line for where the house should have ultimately sold, or where you should have priced it from the start, in reality, the sales price might actually be higher than it's ever been.
Yep. And we went back and reviewed some of the stats that we had pulled from our trip down in Mega Camp in Austin, Texas, where we had gotten a lot of the statistics about where the inflation, where the price point is. And we actually are approaching what should be this natural trend line that we've been tracking for almost 30 years. So, Jimmy, let's talk a little bit of a pivot strategy here. So you had mentioned a little bit about the pricing a little bit below market as opposed to over market. In your quickest kind of version, if you're sitting down with a new agent or you're sitting down with a seller, what's the reason you want to price basically at market or even slightly under, as opposed to trying to chase that slightly higher number? I mean, why wouldn't I want to go higher, right? What's the conversation?
I mean, ultimately, I think it comes down to, a question that I would ask any seller. And it's like, look, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Or do you want me to tell you, how we should price your house to actually get the most money to put in your pocket? A lot of agents are just there to tell you what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And, sellers think maybe I can get $400,000 for my house, and the agent knows that's not the reality, but they want that listing agreement signed. They want their sign in the yard. It is just not how I operate. And it's not, what I'm coaching to, because honestly, it doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit the agent. It doesn't benefit the seller. It's like over promising and under delivering. So you want to price it just below market value. And there's a lot of risk in pricing too high. Mm-hmm. There's little to no risk in pricing too low, because ultimately the market will determine the sales price for your home. So if you price it, I don't know if you can price too low. The market will determine the sales price for your home.
$1 might be too low.
$1 might be too low,
but there's a lot of wiggle room in there.
For sure.
So let's further that conversation. So you're at that table with that seller, right? And you've just had this nice long explanation. You've gone through everything about why pricing at market or slightly below is going to be the best for them, right? Shortest amount of time, drive the most amount of traffic, get the most amount of buyers to see that home, and price themselves emotionally rather than logically. That's when you get the bidding war. That's when you get the most for your house. But then that seller says, but wait, Jimmy, Connor, that's great. We're going to get this great price for my house, but I also have to buy. And I'm terrified right now because, what if I get this house under contract and then I can't find something on my next? Or why would I even bother trying to go into a purchase when I'm a contingent buyer? I got to sell this home. Do I even stand a chance? So I know that's a concern that a lot of agents, a lot of your coaching agents has. We've had that personally, that conversation. Talk me through how you would explain that to that seller. How would you explain them kind of going into
I think the biggest issues, right, and it's an inventory problem, right? There just aren't enough homes on the market. And in our conversations, with sellers who do have a motivation to sell and think that they can't because they're going to be contingent and they think that their offer will never be accepted or they don't want to be homeless. If you flip the coin, one of the benefits of the low inventory market is that you're going to find a very flexible buyer, and that buyer is going to give you time to go and find your next house. Yeah. That buyer could even let you close on your house that you're living in now and continue to live there. It's a use and occupancy or a lease back agreement. Those things allow you to be, very high quality contingent buyer. And what we're seeing is, the contingent buyers in this market are putting 20+% down because they have a lot of equity in their current home. And so that can put you at, above the competition in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So hear that, right? Even if you have a home to sell, which many of you are going to have to do at some point here, right? A lot of people bought in the last 5 to 7 years. We know that kind of that itch to get out and get onto that next house. But so many of you are staying put because I have a really low interest rate right now. I bought it at a time when my home was priced a lot lower, and to go out and buy something, my budget is going to increase substantially going to that next house. But sometimes, hey, you can't help it, right? You have a new child, you have a child graduating, you have a death in the family, you have to get married.
I mean, the reality, the reason that you are moving is because of interest rates, or the reason that you are not moving is because of interest rates, then I would just say you're probably not a seller or a buyer for this market. A regular, retail home buyer or seller, we move for life circumstances. Yeah.
And we know that there's going to be about 1 million less homes sold this year than there was last year. A little over 5 million homes sold last year. It's going to be a little over 4 million homes sold this year. So that's 20% of all the buyers and sellers who are going to engage in the market just chose not to do it this year. And I think I do think that this interest rate spread is one of the reasons it's causing
absolutely.
That, right? It's that, hey, I bought this home 4 years ago in 2019. I bought it at $300,000. This year, my neighbor's house just sold for $375,000. That's a fairly common situation that's happening right now. And not only is it selling for $375,000, I got my interest rate at 3.1.
Right.
Now they're buying it with 7.1. So to buy your neighbor's house, let's assume it's the exact same house. Everything's the same, but you bought 4 years ago at 3% interest rate, and now you got to buy it today at 7% interest rate. I just increased your monthly payment by maybe $1,000. I mean, it could literally be that much, if not more.
Yeah.
It could be a little less, it could be more, but that's what's holding a lot of people back, and that's where we saw that 20% of all available buyers and sellers just drop off this year. But
it's a real objection, and it is a real issue, but it's just the question of, we're probably not going to be in a world where we're going to see that again. And if we are in that world where we see that again, we probably don't want to be there because something really bad happened to make that situation.
And then we got a whole other can of worms to open at that point.
But it is, that's just the reality of this market. And, you still have a lot of power being that contingent buyer because, yes, you bought 3-4 years ago and now you're locked into the 3% rate. But, you've earned $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in equity in your home, and the question is, what is that earning for you actually? And it's not earning anything as equity. So one of the options that we can take when we're moving, is to take that equity, use some of it as a down payment, put some in retirement. You can always refinance your rate later on the home that you buy. Have that equity actually work for you.
Marry the house, date the rate. Right. All right. Well, that's going to do it this week for week 37. I appreciate all of you hanging on. If you have any questions from today's episode, feel free to reach out. Let's thank Jimmy. Round of applause. I'm sure everybody's doing it in their living room. But thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week for week 38.